तव सर्वस्य ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करते हुए स्वाहाकार के साथ आहुति देते हैं. नाउ वी विल chant some special mantras. Everyone give offering along with ghee and samagri. ॐ स्तुतामया वरदा वीरमाता प्रचोदयन्ताम् पावमणिं द्विजानाम् आयुः प्राण प्रजां पशुं कीर्तिं द्रविणं ब्रह्मवर्चसं मह्यं दत्त्वा भजत ब्रह्मलोकम् स्वाम ॐ उत्तिष्ठ ब्रह्मणस्पति देवाञ्जय आयुः प्राणं प्रजां पशुं कीर्तिं यजमानं च वर्धय स्वाहा ॐ तच्चक्षुर्देवाहितं पुरस्तात् शुक्रमुच्चरत् पश्येम शरदभाषितं जीवेम शरदं स्मृतं शृणुयाम शरदभाषितं प्रब्रवाम शरदशतमदीना श्याम शरदशतं भूयः शरदशता स्वाहा. Now we give up the shot. केवल गीत आओगे. ॐ भूरग्नये स्वाहा इदमग्नये नमः. ॐ भूर्वायुवे स्वाहा इदं वायुवे नमः. ॐ ध्यान स्वाहा इदमादित्याय नमः. ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वर्गिवाय विश्वेभ्यः स्वाहा इदमग्निवायुवादित्ये नमः. Now we will offer systemic ahuti. Take everyone little bit piece of salt. End of the mantra. We offer is sacred fire. ॐ यदस्य कर्मणोत्यरीरिचं यद्वा न्यूनमिहापरम् अनिष्टशिष्टविघ्नः सर्वं कृष्णं सोदं करोतु मे प्रकृते भूतभूते सर्वप्रायश्चित्ताहुतीना नाम समर्दयित्रे सर्वान् कामान् समर्दयन् स्वाहा इदमग्नये शुक्रे नमः. One with out जी के out. ओम इदं प्रजापते नमः. Out. I want to break something. बाकी सभी आ जाएंगे इधर पे एक एक आउट है कम से कम देंगे. Everyone please come forward and offer one audition when we will chant mantra. End of the mantra you offer samagri. Very nice. ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वाहा तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वाहा तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. स्वाहा ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि Now, last three are written with V and Samagri. Om Sadhamai Puranam Parma Om Satnam Satnam Om Sarvangai Puranam Swam. Now we will sing Yajna Prarthana together. Yajaruparatu Ha Satvarasinare Ashami Kitanachnari Japana Jekor Da Chana Dare Sakor Ya Om Rakhi Shnati Sangha Bhavati Yati Bhavana Jai Manasi Papa Tyajai Kaman Yajati La Jiva Rite Vayurvanasarvahavam Shubhaganyakodam Pranati Swate Hamam Yasa Prema Parvanvista Idam Ramamakas Yadakram Ekame Vyavaharayo Prema Sameva Vandana Parvati Namakarunju Chapapaturin Sabapare Pujanina Prabhu Kamari Bhagavapur Koda Shuvira Kaparnatu Manasika Baladi Prabhu Sika Baladi Sarve Bhavantu Sukha Sanno Muniramayamu Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu Pashyetu Gavapave Sabka Bhala Prado Bhagavan Sab Par Karo Dayava Sab Par Kripa Karo Bhagavan Sab Vidhi Ho Kariya Isha Sab Sukhi Ho Koi Na Ho Sarvo Niro Bhagavan Vanadanya Ke Bhandari Sarvadra Bhavade Sanamagate Patiko दुखिया न कोई होवे, सृष्टि निराली। हे नाथ सब सुखी हो, हे नाथ सब हो निरोग भगवन, धन धान्य भंडारी। त्वमेव त्वमेव सुखी बसे संसार सब भिखारे, सबकी भगवन पूरी हो। विद्या बुद्धि तेज बल सुकृत भीतर होय, कूद कूद धन धान्य से वंचित रहे न कोई। आपकी भक्ति प्रेम से मन होवे भरपूर, राग द्वेष से चित्त मेरा हो सौभाग्य दूर। मिले भरोसा नाम का हमें सदा जगदीश, आशा तेरे काम की बनी रहे मम ईश। हमें बचाओ पाप से करके दया दयाल, अपना भक्त बनाय कर सबको करो निहाल। दिल में दया उदारता, मन में प्रेम अपार, धैर्य हृदय में वीरता, सबको दो कर छार। नारायण प्रभु आप हो, जगत के पालनहार, दूर करो अज्ञान सब, कर दो भव से पार। हाथ जोड़ विनती करो, सुनिए कृपा निधान, साधु संगत सुख दीजिए, दया नम्रता दान। सुखी बसे संसार सब, दुखिया रहे न कोई, यह अभिलाषा हम सबकी भगवन पूरी होय। मेरे भगवन पूरी होय, मेरे भगवन पूरी हो। आइए सभी मिलकर अपने शब्दों में प्रार्थना करेंगे। ओम नमः शंभवाय च, मयो भवाय च, नमः शंकराय च, मयस्कराय च, नमः शिवाय च, शिवतराय च। ओंकार बिंदु संयुक्तम् नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनः, कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। तू सर्वेश सकल सुखदाता, शुद्ध स्वरूप विधाता है, उसके कष्ट नष्ट हो जाते, शरण तेरी जो आता है। सारे दुर्गुण दुर्व्यसनों से हमको नाथ बचा लीजिए, मंगलमय गुण कर्म पदार्थ प्रेम सिंधु हमको दीजिए। हे परमपिता परमेश्वर, आप तो सत चित आनंद स्वरूप निराकार, सर्वशक्तिमान न्यायकारी दयालु अजन्मा अनंत निर्विकार अनादि अनुपम सर्वाधार सर्वेश्वर सर्वव्यापक सर्वांतरयामी अजर अमर अभय नित्य पवित्र और सृष्टि के कर्ता हरता है। हे जगत पिता परमेश्वर, आप अनादि काल से अनंत काल से अपने उपकारों की वर्षा किए जाते हो। प्राणी मात्र की संपूर्ण कामनाओं को आप ही प्रतिक्षण पूर्ण करते हो। हमारे लिए जो कुछ शुभ है तथा हितकर है उसे बिना मांगे ही स्वयं हमारी झोली में डालते डालते जाते हो। आपके आंचल में अविचल शांति तथा आनंद का वास है। आपके चरण शरण की शीतल छाया में परम तृप्ति है। शाश्वत सुख की उपलब्धि है, सदा सब अभिलषित पदार्थों की प्राप्ति है। हे जगत पिता परमेश्वर, हम लोगों में सच्ची श्रद्धा तथा विश्वास हो, हम आपके अमृत में गोद में बैठने के अधिकारी बने। अंतःकरण को मलिन बनाने वाली स्वार्थ तथा संकीर्णता की सब क्षुद्र भावनाओं से हम ऊंचे उठे। काम क्रोध लोभ मोह ईर्ष्या द्वेष इत्यादि कुटिल भावनाओं तथा सब मलिन वासनाओं को हमसे दूर कर दीजिए। हे परम पावन प्रभु, हम सब लोगों में तो सात्विक प्रवृत्तियां जागृत हो, जैसे कि क्षमा सरलता स्थिरता निर्भयता अहंकार शून्यता इत्यादि शुभ भावना हमारी संपत्ति हो। हमारा व्यक्तित्व महान तथा विशाल है। हे प्रभु, हम सभी आपके पुत्र है पुत्रिया है बालक है बालिका है। आपके चरणों में ही निवेदन करते हैं, क्योंकि आप ही सुखों के दाता हो दुखों के हरता हो। आपसे बढ़कर और कोई नहीं, क्योंकि आप ही संसार के रचयिता पालन करता सहार करता हो। सृष्टि के आरंभ में अपना अमूल्य ज्ञान वेद ऋषियों के माध्यम से हमारे लिए देते हो। हमारे द्वारा जो जो कर्म किया जाता है उन सभी कर्मों का हिसाब रख के फल प्रदान करते हैं। हे प्रभु, आप ही के चरणों में हमारी निवेदन प्रार्थना है याचना है। कृपा करके हमारी प्रार्थना को स्वीकार करते हुए अपने आशीर्वादों की वर्षा करो। सबके परिवारों में सुख शांति समृद्धि हो। सबके परिवार के सभी लोग स्वस्थ रहे निरोग रहे दीर्घायु युक्त हो। यही बारंबार प्रार्थना है। हमारी प्रार्थना को आप स्वीकार करो स्वीकार करो स्वीकार करो। हम सबका कल्याण करो कल्याण कल्याण। ओम शांति शांति शांति। आई रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑल प्लीज होल्ड योर हैंड क्लोज योर आईज। आपके लिए आशीर्वचन दिए जाएंगे। ओम सत्याः सन्तु यजमानानां कामाः। ओम पूर्णाः सन्तु यजमानानां कामाः। ओम सफलाः सन्तु यजमानानां कामाः। ओम शुभं भवतु कल्याणमस्तु। ओम स्वस्ति ओम स्वस्ति ओम स्वस्ति। ओम शन्नो देवीरभिष्टय आपो भवन्तु पीतैः संयोरभिस्रवन्तु नः। ओम आपो हिष्ठामयो भुवस्वानुभुर्जे ददातन महीरणाय चक्षसे। ओम तच्चक्षुर्देवहितं पुरस्तात् शुक्रमुच्चरत्। पश्येम शरदः शतं जीवेम शरदः शतं शृणुयाम शरदः शतं प्रब्रवाम शरदः शतमदीनः स्याम शरदः शतं भूयश्च शरदः शतात्। ओम स्वस्ति ओम स्वस्ति ओम स्वस्ति। ओम शुभम भवतु कल्याणमस्तु। आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप ये टीम से मिलिए। आगे का कार्यक्रम प्रेयर बड़े हॉल में होगा, सीधा वहां पर पहुंचे। सब लोग जूम ले जाना जरा भी। हाँ
Zoom का time. Zoom का इधर आ इधर सेंटर में या लाइट ठीक भैया उधर से लाइट ऑफ Charlia, Samoa, Chandora, Fire, Lino, or Nacho, Namaste. Today, my talk will be from the Vedic calendar, the Indian, sorry, the Vedic time calculation system. Uh, I'm going to use history, I'm going to use mathematics to support my presentation. So if you want, get your smartphone ready. You can follow the calculations if you want. And also, I'm going to delve into why it's important. And what? My IG that's operating the computer there. I had a nice conversation with him, and I think he will be one of the people that will benefit from this presentation. Okay, so um, the Vedic calendar basically is a North Indian calendar and also known as Pancham. Next. So let's look at some of the uh, attributes or features of a Vedic calendar. First, it's based on the movements of the heavenly bodies, the planets, the stars, our galaxy. It doesn't speak of a particular race, religion, or region. And it's not based on a particular person, place, or event. It was developed by our rishis mainly on the study and observation. Next. Now, most of you are familiar with this calendar. This is known as the Gregorian calendar. It's also known as the Christian calendar, and it's also known as the Western calendar. Okay, next. Now, let's look at some of the differences between the Vedic calendar and the Gregorian calendar that most of the world is using today. The Vedic calendar is based on the science of astronomy, whereas the Gregorian calendar was introduced by the Roman Catholic Church. It was at the time it was introduced by Pope Gregory in 1582. And interesting enough, England or the United Kingdom took almost 200 years before they adopted it in 1752. The Vedic calendar has its roots or the knowledge in the Vedas. One of the important differences of the Vedic calendar, the day starts at sunrise. Why sunrise? Because it's an astronomical event. Gregorian calendar or the Christian calendar, it starts 1 second after midnight. No science behind it. The Gregorian calendar is mainly solar based. Okay? And we say namesake only because it does not even use the sun sign or the zodiac signs. Whereas the Vedic calendar is based on mainly the movements of both the orbits of the moon and the sun. So it's called a lunisolar calendar. The Vedic calendar is 1.96 billion years old. And that coincides with when humans first appear. The Gregorian calendar was only introduced in 444 years. Interestingly enough, lots of us celebrate the New Year on January 1st, but that only started in 1582 in in Italy by the Roman Catholic Church and later by United Kingdom in 1752. Prior to that, they were celebrating the New Year in March. Okay, January and February were the 11th and 12th months of the year on their calendar. All right. Our Vedic calendar, it has not changed. No, on the Vedic calendar, the years are computed from the beginning of the Shina year. That's when the sun is seen more in the southern hemisphere, and that's on around June 21st every year. Next. Now, I'm going to give you some benefits here of the Vedic calendar. It helps you to keep track of time and dates. And I'm going to give you some reasons why it's more relevant to our culture of history. It assists with Sankalp for Yachyan. And if you were wondering what that is, whenever we do a Yajna, we are supposed to chant the Sankalp. And the Sankalp is based on two things, time and place. So it tells you have to chant the time and also the location where the yajna is being performed. Another benefit of the Vedic calendar, it helps the yajmans with the Ritvik Varana. Now, I know this is not being done too much these days, but whenever you have your own yajnas or your own sanskars or your own celebration, whether it's a wedding or something like that, you invite a purohit to come and perform that. So when the purohit arrives at your location, you are supposed to greet that purohit by garlanding him, and there's a special mantra with together with the Samkal, supposed to greet that purohit, and then ask the purohit to take their seat. So that's what Ritvik Varana is. It also records events in our Itihad. Now, I'll give you an example. Ramayana. The story of Ramayana is a historical fact. And the Ramayana happened over 18.1 million years ago. Now, how did we come up with that? You know, if you study the Valmiki Ramayana, it tells you that that happened at the end of 24 Tritayum. And we are in the 28th Kaliyum presently. So we have completed four Mahayuga. We have completed one Dwapara Yuga, and we are now 5,127 years in the 28th Mahayuga. So when you do the calculation, that's how you come up with 18.1 million years. Now, There's another important fact. In the Valmiki Ramayana, it tells us that when Hanumanji went to look for Mataji Sita in Lanka, he saw four tusked elephants guarding the palace of Ravana. Now, if you check in Karta Encyclopedia, it will tell you that four tusked elephants roamed this earth in that period. Another feature or benefit of the calendar, you know the exact time and date of our parvas or festivals, and I'll go through that a little later. It also aids in the naming of newborns. When a baby is born, we're supposed to name it based on the moon sign of the birth. Another benefit of the Vedic calendar is determines exact age of creation. Now we have three types of creation. We have universal creation. That's when this cycle of the universe started. We have biological creation or Srishti Samvat. That's when bio life started on this earth. And the key word there is bio life, biological life. And then later on, human life started 12,096,000 years later. Another benefit of the Vedic calendar, it's based on the science of astronomy. It has nothing to do with astrology. And the word Jyotisha itself is a Sanskrit word. It means astronomy. It has no connection with astrology. So if an astrologer is trying to convince you of that fact, don't believe that astrology. But see, these days there are also two other terminologies that are being used. Uh, One is Ganita Jyotisha, which is astronomy, and also Palita Jyotisha, which is astrology. So when somebody talks about Jyotisha, you can even qualify and ask them whether they're talking about Ganita or not. Lastly, I have on the slide, some Vedic principles are still being used by other systems, like the word Aum, Hour. It's derived from a Sanskrit word. And I'll go into that a little later. It's 7 days a week, how we're using 7 days a week. Those are all nomenclatures of the Vedic system. And those are all proofs that astronomy originated in Bharat, India. Next. Next. This is a sample of a sankalp that's done uh, before a yajna. Next, and this is a sample of, sorry, go back. This is a sample of a Ritwik Varana uh, uh, of a family Havan. Next. Okay, how do we determine when to what day does a festival on our calendars is supposed to be observed. There are four things you have to consider because most of the festivals are based on the lunar cycle. So we have to know the lunar month. We have to know the tithi, which is the lunar day. We have to know the end time of the tithi. And I'll explain to you why that's important at end time of the tithi. And then we have to know what time sunrise is prior to the end time of the tithi because it's related. And another important thing, all of the above are as for the local time. So the tithi in Atlanta may be different from the tithi in India because of the time difference. Okay, so that's why sometimes the festivals here are celebrated one day different. Next. So let's look at uh, an example here. We're looking at Jayan's Jayanti. I have highlighted the red, which is what you should always use to determine the date that that festival or that anniversary should happen. The popular date is in the month of Falguna. It's in Krishna Paksh, which is the dark half, and it's in Dashmi, 10th day. This is the popular, and the reason I'm calling it the popular day is because there's new research done now has given it a different name. And that date was on Thursday, February 12th. In, in all countries except North America, Trinidad, Guyana, and Suriname. It was on in those areas, it was on Wednesday, February 11th. And on places in India and Europe and South Africa and Mauritius, it was Thursday, February 11th. Again, because of the time difference. Next. Mahashivratri and Dayanand Bodhutsav, Falguna, Krishna Paksh 14th. That was on Monday, February 16th. In this case, it was the same date all over. Next. Okay, and now to give you some more examples. Holi is celebrated on Falguna Purnima. Purnima is the last day of the bright half of the month. This year is on Tuesday, March 3rd. And then we have Pag, or some places in India, Hola Mohala. And for us, with both Korean roots, we call it Pagwa. It's one day later, which is Wednesday, March 4th. Now, these are two different festivals. Holi is an agricultural festival, and it is derived. The word Holi is the word from the Sanskrit word Holaka, meaning grains. Okay, and Pag is a festival of color, so it's one day later. New Year, the Lunar New Year, is observed on Chaitra Shukla Pratipada, first day. This year it's on Thursday, March 19th. I would like to add, we also, on the Vedic calendar, you have, oh, before I move, the, the lunar new year does not have any years attached to it. Okay? Some people have erroneously attached the solar years to this, but it does not have any years attached. The simple reason being the moon only orbits the Earth in 1 month. So it only measures the months of the year. And even I'll give you a Rig Veda reference that supports that the moon's orbit should only measure the months. The solar year, as I mentioned before, is June 21st. And however, most of us are familiar with Vikram Samvat. And Vikram Samvat starts on the same day as the Lunar New Year. But keep in mind, my hygiene in controls, Vikram Samvat is not astronomical. We consider it an artificial era. And why is that? Here is where the history comes in. Vikram Samvat was started by King Vikram Aditya II in 57 BC to celebrate the fact that Nepal came under his control. So it was started by, by a man, that Vikram Samvat. It has nothing to do with astronomy. Arya Samaj Foundation Day. My good friend Adit controls again. This should be celebrated on Chaitra Shukla Paksh 5, fifth day of the right half of the month of Chaitra. This year is on Monday, March 23rd. Now, there's some controversy on this day. If you go to Arya Samaj Kakarwari in Mumbai, where the first Arya Samaj started, you will find on the foundation stone that it says it was started on April 7th. Okay? But when I questioned the people in Mumbai, they couldn't give me a reasonable answer. But I was just looking at Lala Lajpat Rai's book in your library. He said it was April 10th. But apart from those people who came later on, I looked at Rishi Dayananda's letter. He wrote a letter the day after uh, Arya Samaj was started in Mumbai to his friend Gopal Rao Deshmukh. I believe he was a judge in the High Court in Prayagraj time. And he clearly stated in that letter uh, the date Arya Samaj started in Mumbai was April 10th. 1875, and he gave Chitra Shukla Pakshpa. If you want to see that letter, you can you can get a copy of the book Signatures of Nine available on Amazon. It has 231 letters by Vishyanan, and that was one of the letters included in that. Ram Navami is celebrated on Chaitra Shukla Paksh 9. This year it's on March 26th. Raksha Bandhan celebrated on the month of Shravana, and it's on Purnima. That will be Thursday, August 27th. Krishna Janamashmi, Bhadrapada, Krishna Pax 8, Friday, September 4th. And Diwali is celebrated, as all of you know, in the month of Kartika on Amavasya, which is this year, Sunday, November 8th, here in this time zone. Next. Oh, okay. Uh, we'll go to this. We'll go to this image. This is an image of Earth's orbit around the sun. Okay, and look at the position of Earth. It's not straight. The axis is not straight. It's at a tilt. Right now, it's 23.5 degrees tilt. And that's responsible for the four seasons. It's responsible for a lot of things. In India, you celebrate uh, the solar festival in January, Makar Sankranti on January 14th. Well, Makar Sankranti was when Earth axis was perpendicular. There was no tilt to it. Today, if you check her Sankranti is on the winter solstice on December 21st. But you have to understand also why the meaning of Makar Sankranti. Sankranti is when the earth transitions from one sun plan to the next. And Makar Sankranti is when it transitions into the sun sign of Makar. And that takes place now on December 20th. So the current position of Earth has changed things, and we have to adapt to those changes. Next. So, uh, this slide just tells you how Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. And for December 21st is for in the northern hemisphere, beginning of Uttarayana, and Dakshinayana is the summer solstice. Next. This slide just tells us about the importance of time. It gives us a sense of sequence of events, past, present, future, and it will end with Time is Eternal by Rich Diana. Next. Okay, this is where, if you want, you can start using your calculators. Well, measurement of time, calculation of time. Our rishis were able to calculate the smallest unit of time, which is 33,750th part of a second. And the Sanskrit word for that is shruti. Interestingly enough, they also calculated the length of breath for a normal, healthy person. And that is equivalent to 4 seconds. And that fourth smallest unit they have calculated. And the longest, oh, sorry. Now, when we talk about a day in terms of day and night, the word our rishis use is ahoratra, which is Earth's one rotation around its axis. And why is it called ahoratra? Because the word is derived from two roots, aha meaning the lighted part, and ratri meaning the dark part. This is where the our system was derived from. It was derived from the Hora system, which was a degenerated form of Ahoratra. The week, they named the week 7 days after the seven planets: the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. In Vedas, this is described as the seven lokas. And the Vedic rishis, they remember these seven lokas during their daily prayers as Om Bu, Om Bua, Om Swa, Om Maha, Om Jana, Om Tapa, Om Satya. They were able to calculate that the lunar month has 30 days, and the solar month has 30.44 solar days. And these are synchronized on the Vedic calendar after 32, 32 months and 15 days. They were able to determine that the solar year was 365.25 days, which is the Earth's orbit around the Sun. And the longest unit of time they have calculated is known as Brahmayu Mahakalpa, which is 311.04 trillion solar years. And I'll go through some of the calculations of that later. Next. Okay, I mentioned before that moon is the maker of months. And here is the reference, Rig Veda 1.105.18. Okay. And it's based on moon's revolution around the Earth, which is approximately 29.5 days. And keep in mind that some of the tithis are long and some are short. They're not exactly the same as the solar day, where the solar days are 24 hours. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why festivals are celebrated in different days in different parts of the world. Next, so the lunar month has two halves, bright and dark. Bright is Shukla Paksh, dark is Krishna Paksh, 15 tithis each. And the Shukla Paksh, or the bright half, ends in Purnima, which is the full moon, and the dark half ends in Amavasya, which is the new moon. You notice this is exactly the same as the Christian calendar. They're using the same system. Next. And this is just a visual of how the moon is orbiting the Earth. Next. These are the 12 months on the lunar year. It starts with Chaitra and ends with Falguna. Next. I mentioned that the lunar cycle and the solar cycle of the calendar is synchronized after 32 months, solar months, and 15 days. This is known as Malmas or intercalary month, or it's also known as Adhikamas. This is similar to what we do on the Christian calendar when we have a leap year. February 29th is added to the year. So this is the same philosophy behind it. Next. Okay, now continuing with the time calculation. In the Vedic system, we have a yoga system. The yoga system is known in English as conjunction. And we have Satya Yuga, which is equivalent to 1.728 billion years. Treta Yuga, 1.296 billion years. Dwapar, 864,000 years. Kali Yuga, 432,000 years. And they add up to 4,320,000 years each. And that's known as a Mahayuga. Now, remember I gave you the decline for Ramayana. I said 18.1 billion years. So, if you take 4 Mahayugas and multiply it by 4,320,000, plus you add Dwapar, which is 864,000 years, and this Kali Yuga is 5,127 years. That's how I came up with the 18.1 million years. Okay. Present Kali Yuga started on Friday, September 5th, 3102 BC, when all the planets were housed in one zodiac sign. So a Kali Yuga starts when all those planets are together in one sign, in one nakshatra, in one constellation. So in Dwapar Yuga, it happens twice. In Treta Yuga, it happens three times, and in Satya Yuga, it happens four. So it's all astronomical. Now, two French astronomers later questioned that 3102 BC date. The first one was Sylvain Bailly, and the second one was Le Verrier. And they both came up with the exact dates when they use the calculations used by our astronomers or Hindu astronomers. One other notification, Rig Veda was compiled with 432,000 syllables to represent the very astronomical basis of the Yuga system. Next. Um, One other thing I would like to mention is there are also shorter Yuga cycles. There are 12 years, 60 years, 5 year Yuga cycles. But these, what I just showed you, are the important ones for time calculation. So this is a calculation on what we call 1 day of Kalpa, or sorry, 1 day of Puma. It's the Kalpa, and it's the revolution of our galaxy around the super galactic center, or the Swayambhuva Mandala. But first, you have to understand a few other things before you do the calculations. The Mahayuga, as we saw before, is equal to 4,320,000 years. We have another time calculation. It's known as Manvantara. That's equivalent to 71 Mahayugas plus one transition period, or we call it twilight, or it's also called Manusati. And one kalpa is equal to 14 Manvantara plus 15 twilight. The twilights are equivalent to 1,728,000 years. And 1 day of Brahma is equal to 4,320,000,000 years. And it's also the time period that Earth will sustain biological life. Next. So this is where we are in this Manvantara and this Kalpa is your representation. Next. Okay, a calculation for age of the universe. Brahma era, or that's the name for the universal creation of each cycle. So our rishis was able to give us this calculation, and this is how we came up to from the beginning of this universal creation to now. It's 155.521 uh, trillion years. The Kalpa or Srishti era, which is the biological creation, is 1.972 billion years. And you can only understand the chronology of the ancient Indian history when you understand the Yuga, the Mahayuga, and the Manvantara cycles are taken into account. Because the only place you can find our itihas, our history, these days are in the Puranas, and they all reflected Yuga Manvantara. And look at how that compares to what was given to us by Archbishop Usher. He said the system, the creation started on 26th of February 4004 BC. Next. Okay, sorry, go back. So I have to explain this. I've given you at the bottom here eight 8,640,000,000. Now that came from the previous slide where I give you a day of Brahma. So a night is of equal duration. So if you take 4.32 billion times 2, that's how you get 86.4. The 360 is the number of days in a year, and 100 is the number of years in each cycle. So that's how we come up to 311.04 trillion years. Next. No luck? Okay. Um, I'll just explain this slide because it's relevant. It's very relevant to all of you in this room. The slide we couldn't see is about a meteorite that fell into the town of McDonough here in Georgia last year, June. I don't know if any of you remember that. But the scientists that examined that meteorite have determined that it was 4.56 billion years old. And they said that it is 20 million years older than Earth, which brings it to almost exactly what our rishis were able to calculate. This slide talks about fossil evidence of worms that were found in Madhya Pradesh, that were over 1 billion years old, and it's another proof to support Vedic science. Next. This is a newspaper clipping about a finding by some Australian astronomers. They found a star that was 13.6 billion years old, at the time making it the most ancient star ever seen. And again, this is in concordance with Vedic science. Next. So this slide tells you about the universal creation cycle. We have the creation part, which is known as Srishti. We have the dissolution part, which is coming. So there are two halves. One is the creation part, one is the dissolution part. We have finished with the dissolution part in this cycle, so we are now in the creation part. Next. This is a visual of three of the orbits that uh, I spoke about. We have the moon orbiting the Earth. We have the Earth uh, orbiting the sun. Unfortunately, I didn't get to put in the sun orbiting our galaxy and our galaxy orbiting the supergalactic center. Next. Now, our rishis developed a system for us to remember important events. And this is an example of sankalp that I spoke to about. So it's a very short and simple sankalp. So it tells you about this is the second half of uh, this creation cycle, and things like we're in Vaivasvata Manvantar. Okay? That's the seventh Manvantar, and uh, the year 5127 in Kali. Next. So this is our heritage for those that accept the knowledge of Vedas. It is our responsibility to preserve it by learning, teaching, and supporting its propagation. And I'd like to give a quote from Pandit Gurudat Vidyarthi. As most of you are aware, he was a very good Sanskrit scholar. He was also an English scholar. He said, astronomy is one of the sciences that is necessary to obtain the true meaning of the Vedas. Other famous quotes next. Rishidanan, it was known to Indians that the earth was round and that the earth, sun, moon, and stars were in motion. I'm I'm surprised that even our Samaj scholars don't adhere to this quote. Not only from Rishidanan, but the science have proved that all these planets, they're in motion, they move around the earth. That's also quoted by quotes in the Vedas. I see in one book, an Arya Samaj scholar says the sun does not move. Yeah. Evelyn Plunritt, she said they were very advanced Hindu astronomers in 6000 BC. Vedas contain an account of the dimension of the earth, sun, moon, planets, and galaxies. And then Adolf Salachar and P.K. Bose were the scientists that discovered those fossils in Madhya Pradesh. And the two of them said 1 billion-year-old fossil proved life began in India. Next. Here are some of the people, the astronomers and the rishis that contributed towards Vedic astronomy. We have Dirga, Dirga Tamas, we have Ladha, Aryabhata 1, Bhaskar 1, Brahmagupta, Aryabhata 2, Bhaskar 2, Nargya, Medhatithi, Bodhayana, Apakta Manu, and Katyana, knowledge of geometry. Next. The most of the information I gave to you today are available in this World Vedic calendar. You can get it annually on Amazon, or this is the hard copy that's available on Amazon, or if you want the soft copy, it's also available on our website, VedicScience.net. Thanks. I encourage you, this is to visit our website, VedicScience.net. We As uh, Vishwaji mentioned, it has a lot of uh, information on forces we're offering, on uh, different topics of Vedic. And if there's something that you want that's not there, you can send us an email, and we'll be happy to accommodate you. धन्यवाद।
I think there's a question.
Okay.
Even though we are running short of time, we can take one or two questions, depending on how long we need. What's the question? Go ahead. Um, uh, so, um, so how does the Christian calendar start in 2000 BC when it was only introduced 444 years? How does the Gregorian calendar start like at 2000 years ago when it was only introduced 444 years ago?
Well, they have uh, the Christian and the Western calendar had many changes before that. As I said before, the Gregorian calendar, there was the Julian calendar. The Julian calendar, the New Year was in March, March 25th. Prior to the Julian calendar, they had what we call the Romulan calendar. And the Romulan calendar only had 10 months in it. So, but their history is not as long as our Vedic history. So that's one of the reasons why our calendar is so old as compared to this one. But as I said, 1582 was when the calendar that we're using now in many parts of the world, Christian calendar, that's when it started. But it was adopted by England in 1752. Did that answer? Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Amit Alfari, for this beautiful presentation. Giving a round of applause. I think the thing he highlighted, and he definitely tried to do, that our calendar we follow in tradition in India that is based on the astronomy and as a scientific calendar based on the natural progression of the lunar cluster. And that's like now the our focus their dates change. We also wanted to clarify how many of the important dates and reasons for the fact that is the we also mentioned that how the law requires so there's a one to go into that solution. Is that how the transition is a very difficult topic. Looking at the slides, we try to make it so simple for all of us, but it can easily relate. Uh, and it's course, this long study, long research of the topic based on the way of community understanding, that's when is the lecture that comes out from that short studies. So thank you, Praniti, for being here, making sure to see, like I mentioned, these important different stages in which you know, anytime people like me go to a city, they find Sunday in us. There's a point that I need to take from them. You call out the family or there are something and then you want to know with one preservation standing from the we should have left about much. So hopefully this yes,
2020, 19 to 16 to 19 July 2026. So we get a plan to be here. I'm going to introduce two more guests. So I'm going to take one from the stage, and one of the community is the as well. So these are so they are not Hindu services. Okay. So first, Amarji is the coordinator for the kids activities within the Hindu students of Georgia. And the first thing and right is something makes it. Okay. So he is a student. Yeah. He's a biomedical engineer and from Flash to the master. He's from Boston, born and brought up in US. Farida. What is special about him? He has dedicated his 6 months after his undergrad for the English players full time. So in between his studies, he made it a point that I want to learn, I want to really learn. And here he the job is same to reach out, develop connections, develop a network, initiate more sharp asks of the Sangha across the Jordan. So we have to see how a youth was inspired by the Sun, how he is able to dedicate 6 months of his career planning education time to this of the user. And what is so we are not new to him, he is making calls to people. It's not the direct calls. Sometimes we don't even answer obviously. But they're making the calls, trying to make it a come to the lead the people. Look at he has made those calls to various organizations living like various businesses, products, people. Going to their community, what and those that they release some concern with the because what's okay, then we need to other letting me they are so okay. What kind of this is a report needs here to report and the city how along with the money what so I we are leadership call and for many of the community created inspiration from Arna and integrating their studies, they can find out he has a very good accent, he can talk to them, but I hope to have couple of things to talk to him today. But two things he did not come and see from that same here. So obviously he didn't put it now. But then also indicate how we are going to communicate what it will be. Then or getting to their organization as a news, and then there's no fear of someone saying no, then you can continue that effort. So actually, so really appreciate that you're doing and supported like this simply in which all both of you we are feeling our lives here and actually out. So I want to give you a point. Wait, one thing. Uh, so, thank you. So, Anurag, thank you. We have our things to collect. Most welcome everything. Good everything. So, and this is what's going on in the case. So, we have in the evening, we run the shop. So that's why I have you. He runs the transaction in the shop of the evening. And you're most joins of me. Also, we have two classes that is a school from me. Three of the students who are the development of the have to sit there so that we can listen. And then the same time to discuss between one another. So as per I'm sure about this thing we have to so we just thank you being here. We definitely does. Please be seated. Now I think we'll see the valuation because it's long time. So we'll do the hard. Couple of good announcements. Presentation for the temples. So temple is boasting that Annual Diwali mask level 16 to 20 July. 6. Next weekend, we're going to have Holika celebrations, Holi Dahan, Holi Fun, to Saturday evening and Sunday morning are events where we are going to have it. Then, the 26th of May, we will have our annual Maharajah, and this is something called society in there. Everyone to come together. If you are not, you have not signed up yet, the monthly is really contacting you, so you should have you should have you made the list. You are that's it. Because you really are the show, very good. So this was like a better off. We are and okay, I'll get the right. That's all rights. Okay, you can hold on. गंगा नदी है okay okay that's for बेटे ऊर्जा ने कहा था ओम जय जगदीश
Shanti Prithvi Shanti Ramya Shanti Roshadaya Shanti Manaswamaya Shanti Vishvedeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarva Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Reti Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay. Now here brings the celestial religion to be peaceful. To be peaceful. Sweet waters in peaceful. Into space. To be conducive to peace and prosperity. May Supreme Creator bring peace. May there be peace and peace alone. May that peace be with us. May there be cosmic peace, physical and spiritual harmonies. Rojan mantra. Om healthy and energy producing food. Produce energy to those who share. May all living beings be blessed with energy giving food. Jai Ghosh. जो बोले सो
So, Vedic Dharma ki Jai!
मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम श्री रामचंद्र जी की
Jai!
योगेश्वर श्री कृष्णचंद्र महाराज जी की
Jai!
गुरुवर स्वामी बिरजानंद जी की
Jai!
महर्षि स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती जी की
Jai!
संसार के सभी श्रेष्ठ महापुरुषों की
Jai!
आज के आनंद की
Jai!
आज के यजमान की
Jai!
आर्य समाज
अमर रहे!
वेद की ज्योति
ज्योति रहे!
ओम का झंडा
ऊंचा रहे!
वैदिक बनी
ओम
वैदिक अभिवादन सबको सादर नमस्ते जी Please take the arti.
Please take the and join us for the prayer. For everything that is related to help clean up the outside temple. So we have set up Hima and we have to clean up that.
Yeah, right, wash it. Right now, yes. Right.
Yeah.
Every day. Much better. I have a yes. More. Now it is. It's a light. But what do you want to do? You do the well, we should probably looks like very James Farr. I don't think Farr. It's sitting in one. Yeah, so it's time when I think about it. Yeah. Make the Lord out there, also, I all it's a really long. This first time was the reading to me was the life. Looking at the ground, the cross and this yeah. Oh, it's a life.
Namaste ji. We are closing the session. Thank you for joining. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next week. Same time, Sunday, 10:30 to 12:30. Namaste ji.